Someone who endlessly inspires me is Mary Blair. This is my favorite book, and it is a vintage copy. I actually have a newer one, and my sister-in-law bought me this vintage version, which actually has more spreads than the one that's found now online. So super grateful for this. Even just as I'm looking at it, I've been looking at the newer one because I'll take it in my purse just for added inspiration whenever I want it. And looking at this, I just see so many things that I haven't seen in a while. It is my favorite. Fun little song at the end. So cute. Actually, I'm going to compare. Those curtains are there. Just a quick little comparison. This is a lot lighter. And like I said, this has a lot more illustrations or spreads even than this one. It's about half the size. So when possible, I like to get the original. Which leads me to my exciting package today. Look at me using my cat snippers. That's what I got. Mary Blair did a lot of illustration work. She did designs for concept illustration for a lot of the Disney movies we love, like Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Cinderella. And yet, in terms of children's book illustration, not that many. And so it's hard to find ones that she has done. And this golden book of little verses was something that I was looking for, and I found from an Etsy seller. You can see it is pretty beat up. This is my first glance at it. I've seen this illustration so many times, never in real life. So exciting. Really cool to think about how there wasn't the technology that we're used to utilizing now in illustration and how this was put together. Obviously there are motion pictures, so there was some, but nothing like what we are using now. I can totally see this being done in Procreate or Photoshop very quickly and not necessarily needing to be thought out as much as you would need to do so in real life. Traditional painting with gouache and watercolor. Look at that. It's like barely sticking together here. Something that I really appreciate about Mary Blair's work, which is so timeless, and you've maybe seen this before. Looks like there's a missing page here. But something that I love about it is that the compositions, like just the composition of having that song there or in the tree trunk. Really cool. The way her shapes are formed. I mean, look at that tree. It's a rectangle. I find that so interesting. The framing of a vignette or an illustration, just like we saw with the window, here it's framed by the garland of balloons and streamers. Character design. The fact that this is a house. Behind there we have some houses. Just the layout, the simplification. A lot of times we simplify and then we don't feel like it's enough. So being able to simplify and it being so much more than enough is fascinating. I mean, look at how these ducks are just engaging with each other. So beautiful. This is a big book. It's, I don't know, maybe 13 inches tall, 10 inches wide. So these spreads are gorgeous. Totally frameable. Bunnies were so big at that time. There were all kinds of bunny books from that era. This is one I've seen before online. And I'm so happy I get to have it now. This composition is just so cool. Yeah, this is another spread that's missing. There should be another page here with a continuation of this little train of kiddos. And then we begin and end with birds. So it looks like this is connected to the page that's missing at the beginning. Here, yep, it's the same page. This I've seen before. Brown to pink. The window, this molding. Ooh, this is one I've seen before too. The bubbles. Even the idea of painting bubbles is really intimidating, I think. But she thought of a way, you know, like what if we have this dark background so that these outlines in gouache would show up? And then to think that all of this was painted and then on top of that to draw these bubbles, how risky is that? When you've already done your illustration, you know, how often do you then go, okay, here we go, right over it? So cool. So whenever I am feeling a bit uninspired, I go to childhood. And even though this is vintage for my childhood, this is the type of illustration that I find the most inspiring from these vintage children's books.